Alright, so in this video, we're going to talk about if Harley Davidson is going to survive. Let's check it out. What's going on, YouTube? BK Low is back in the building. And if you've been reading the news lately, then you know that Harley Davidson has gotten themselves into a little bit of trouble, like most businesses right now. So due to the pandemic, their revenue is way down to a point that has become critical. They've had to announce and make some pretty big changes. So originally I wasn't going to do this video. Like, I'm not about covering topics that is in any way doom or gloom or any negativity. You guys know I'm all about that positive mental attitude lifestyle. But then enough of you guys were asking me to cover it, enough of you guys were just asking about it, where I was like, alright, you know what, let me weigh in on it, let me make the video. Just like the FXRT fairing, so many of you guys wanted me to do that first impressions video, so I hustled hard to get that out. So as always, I'm trying to do my best to tailor the content to you guys. But on to the Harley Davidson situation. And we take a moment to take in some of this beauty here. Look at that. Oh man. Cannot beat it. And definitely cannot beat it on a Harley Davidson. Alright, so let's talk about the situation. My family included, most people I know, the pandemic has caused a significant amount of struggle. People are having to rethink the way they do things. You know, my family has always operated a small business since moving here from Sicily generations ago. So it's hit my family pretty hard. And we're seeing it hit really big companies pretty hard, like Harley Davidson. And, you know, it's starting to get scary because I'm seeing spots that have been in my neighborhood for a very long time starting to fold. So things are getting a little scary for sure. And for the most part, everyone I know is not in a position to be spending the amount of money that would get you a new bike right now. But let's rewind to even before this. Before the pandemic hit, think about my generation, right? The millennial generation that always gets talked about so much. It's hard for me and my friends to realize it sometimes because, you know, we surround ourselves by so many people who are in our age group to ride, but sometimes we forget that we are the minority in America in terms of riding. You know, every generation has its struggle. Our struggle was by the time most of us were ready to start our careers, whether that was graduating college or going some other route, the recession of 2008 hit, and that threw a monkey wrench in a lot of people's plans. You know, that was a struggle for a lot of us and had an impact on a lot of us buying motorcycles around that time. I wasn't able to save up enough money to buy a new motorcycle until I was 28 years old. So the majority of my 20s was spent saving money. And by the time I was 28, I was able to responsibly buy my Lowrider S, which almost 5 years later, I'm still on. So mind you, yes, like that was a significant amount of my savings. You know, I live in Brooklyn, so I don't own a car. So the motorcycle was a very practical purchase. I had already, you know, gotten into riding through riding the Sportster with my dad. I knew that, you know, the lifestyle was right for me and that in terms of recreation and hobby, that's the route I wanted to go. But now, most millennials in America, that is not the situation. Again, I didn't have to buy a car. I was primarily commuting via subway or skateboard or a bicycle before I started riding motorcycles. But most places in America aren't like that. You know, you need a car, and that comes with insurance, and then, you know, people have other financial responsibilities. A lot of people in my generation are in some pretty significant student debt. So there are the stacks of reasons to not buy a brand new Harley Davidson go pretty much sky high for the millennials. Not to mention, you know, for me, It was the first major purchase of my life, and it was easy for me to pull the trigger on it because I had spent so much time riding the Sportster with my dad. I had been introduced to that lifestyle. So if you're not introduced to that lifestyle in some way, whether it's not part of your family growing up or you don't have a low-cost way of getting into it, then it's really hard. It's really hard to see, you know, someone of my generation just getting into it and pulling the trigger on a new bike. I know they have programs out there like new rider programs, you know, MSS courses and stuff like that, but I don't know if that's enough to get someone to throw down well over 10 G's on a motorcycle. You know, let's be realistic. And now I'm talking about my generation, the millennials, right? We're not even the target audience anymore, because it's like, go down to the younger generation, you know, folks who are in their early 20s, their mid 20s. I don't even know what they call that generation. What is it, Generation Z or something? I'm not even sure. But if it's hard for my generation to justify purchasing a new bike, I'm sure it's also very difficult for them to do so as well. It's just not cost friendly to someone trying to hustle and pay their dues and get going in a career or something. You know, it is the way it is. Even the Sportster lineup, you know, it's a $9,000 or whatever. That's a major purchase. So yeah, I just spent all that time talking about pre-pandemic issues with sales, right? And I told you that I'm not about making these types of videos all doom and gloom. You guys know me, that's not what I'm about. So now let's embrace the positive mental attitude. And I know everyone I talk to, like I said, it seems very alarmist on Instagram right now, where it's like, oh my god, Harley Davidson is gonna die, Harley Davidson's over, you know. Listen, the company's been in trouble before. You know, you guys probably know the AMF years. It's not the first time the company's been in trouble. And to me, it's not news, because even before this, there was still issues with getting new riders to get into it, especially younger riders. But as we cruise through this little town, let's talk about how, when I really sat down and thought about this, I actually think the recent news could be the best thing to ever happen to the company. And let's talk about why that is. So here we go. Things are going wrong, right? We're seeing it in the news. They're not making their revenue. Things are clearly going wrong. You could look at that in two different ways. You could choose the doom and gloom, focus on the glass half empty route, or you could look at it the way I'm looking at it right now, which this is an opportunity to grow. This is an opportunity to rebuild and make things better than they ever were, and more accessible to more riders out there, specifically younger riders. I 100% think that this could be a positive thing at the end of the day. The company could 100% use this as an opportunity for growth. That's how I'm seeing it. And I'll tell you what, when things go wrong in my life, take it from Jocko Willink, the first thing I try to do is say, good, all right, this is an opportunity for growth. This is an opportunity to get better. So I think as us, you know, the rider base of the community, I think that's the way we need to look at it right now. So now it's one thing for me to just say that, but let me propose some ways that we could actually do this and make things better. So let's talk about the youth. Let's talk about my generation and younger, because I'm not the youngest anymore. Those days are long past. I am in my 30s, man. Feeling great. So go on to Instagram, right? Go on to YouTube. What do you see in regards to youth Harley Davidson culture? You're gonna see Sportsters. You're gonna see Dynas. You're gonna see FXRs. You're gonna see performance baggers. You're gonna see a lot of things that look very different than what you see on the Harley Davidson website. So step number one, I think Harley Davidson needs to invest in really taking the pulse on the youth and what the youth of the riding community is into, and let that drive the company forward. Because let's think about the older riding base right now, right? And I can tell you this from going to Sturgis multiple times. They're set. You know, they have their bikes at this point. They're sentimental to them. They're good. You know, most of them probably are not going to buy another bike at this point. So I propose that we focus on the youth. And the way that we do that, again, is by making sure that there's someone at the company, anyone, to take the pulse on what the youth is into. You know, the best compliment I ever got about my channel is Retro Jones told me that I've been pushing the culture forward, and interpret that as you want, but it's like one of the best compliments anyone's ever given me, and that's someone that's been watching my channel since I started however many years ago. That's what Harley Davidson needs to do. They need to push the culture forward, because I feel like in a way it's kind of in some ways been stagnant. I'm not going to say always. You know, they've made some really great decisions in the last couple of years. I think the 2020 Lowrider S,
very boring minutes later.
Sorry guys, sorry. I get so excited sometimes when I'm on my Harley Davidson. Let me take it down a little bit so I can continue talking to you. So I think the 2020 Lowrider S, that was an excellent decision. It seemed like that was a decision that they made having their finger on the pulse of the youth, right? The bike I'm on, the 2016 and 2017 Lowrider S, huge success, right? So they looked at the numbers, they looked at, you know, what was going on, and they made an informed decision, and it turned out to be a great decision. You know, I think they did a great job on that bike. The bagger that they introduced, the like standard bagger, whatever it's called, without all the bells and whistles, like an affordable bagger, great decision. You know, very customizable. At the end of the day, I feel like that's what a lot of folks want to do that are buying these bikes. They don't want to keep it stock. They want to customize it. So make the platform customizable. The Softail standard, right? I thought that was great decision making. A lower price point, so that it's more appealing to a younger rider. More customizable, so it's a little bit more appealing. You're gonna customize the bike anyway. Look at my bike. It looks nothing like what Harley Davidson had announced back in 2015. It's just the way it is, you know. The youth wants to change things up. I think everyone wants to change things up and make it their own. I think they should 100% always keep their Sportster line. And you know, I'm not gonna go so far as saying bring back the Dyna, bring back the FXR, as much as those are gonna be the two main bikes I probably always ride. I'm just not gonna say that. I just don't think it's realistic. But keep moving forward with the Softail line. You see that people like Dynas and FXRs. Make the 2020 Softails more like that, and you'll probably get more younger people buying the bikes. We need to have someone high up in the company have their finger on the pulse of what the youth is into, because I feel like there has been for a very long time a pretty big disconnect from what you see on a Harley Davidson website and what you see trending on Instagram or YouTube. The second thing I propose as we move forward and grow, and again, I don't know how realistic this is. I'm not a financial analyst or anything. I'm not in finance. But like I said, with the youth, kids who are starting out in their careers, starting out in their lives, we gotta take the price point down on some of these bikes. I'm not saying all of them. You know, still have your CVO, still have your bagger with the bells and whistles, still have, you know, still have what you're gonna have out there. But one of the main reasons why I bought the Lowrider S in 2016 is it was the most affordable Dyna at that time, with a 110, with what I wanted. So affordability from all the money I had saved was a big part of it. If it were 20 grand, I don't know if I could have swung that, you know? So we really have to just find a way to cut the cost on some of the bikes. I'm not saying all of them. Like, make a more affordable Sportster. Make a more affordable Softail Dyna. It could even be just 2 models, right? Something that'll be more attractive to someone who's just getting started, you know, career-wise. And again, I told you I was going to give you specific things that I think the company could do to meet these ends. You know, we need someone there in a leadership position to push this culture forward. And I can think of a lot of people, but the one person right off the top of my head right now that I think could really help the company right now, if he was in a position to do so, would be Matt Laidlaw from California. So I've always really enjoyed Matt Laidlaw's YouTube channel. Before I even had my Lowrider S, you know, I can't tell you how many times I watched his video when he was covering the Lowrider S. And his YouTube channel is great, man. He doesn't try to go over the top. He's not doing the what's going on, blah blah blah's back in the building. You know, yes, I am making fun of myself a little bit. But he'll just keep it, you know, even to a point where it's monotone at times, to just be himself and give you the information that you need. Hey guys, this is Matt Laidlaw from Laidlaw's Harley Davidson dealership from 1970, blah blah. You know, I love it, man. It's great. So I love his content, and one thing that I love about his content is, number one, is he's in the field. The dude's working at a dealership, selling bikes, working with customers and potential customers every day. The dude comes from a Harley Davidson family, right? That's what his father did. It was a family dealership, so they've been around. They've seen the company through some crazy times. And I think the biggest thing is he's got his finger on the pulse. He's got his finger on the pulse of what the youth wants. For example, I'm rocking this FXRT fairing right now. I'd be lying to you if I told you that his videos on that and his builds didn't have some influence on that. 100%. When I saw some of those builds and I saw the way people were running these FXRT fairings, I was convinced. I was like, yeah, that's the route I want to go. It makes sense. He's got his finger on the pulse when it comes to the youth. And it's clear when you watch his YouTube channel. He's putting a lot of content out there that is definitely oriented towards younger riders. And I think that's awesome, you know? But he's also putting out content that's open to anyone, you know? He's doing lots of great bagger content, lots of cool builds that are not just Dynas, FXRs, or Dyna Softails. And, you know, the dude understands YouTube, he understands Instagram, he understands youth culture. So it seems to me that off the top of my head, if I were to have to elect someone to go and be put into some leadership role high up in the company to help push the culture forward, off the top of my head, he's someone I would choose. We need more people in the company like Matt Laidlaw. So that's my actionable proposition right now, is Harley Davidson, contact Matt Laidlaw over at Laidlaw's Harley Davidson, fly him out to Milwaukee, wherever the headquarters are, and start having some conversations with him. And again, that's just one person off the top of my head that I think could really help the company out right now. There's so many other people out there that I see, whether it's YouTube or Instagram or just on the road, that have such good ideas, and it just seems like it's not being utilized. So that's what I'm saying, man. At the end of the day, you know, the youth will prevail. We got to focus on those younger generations. And again, I'm not part of that youngest generation anymore. So that's my 2 cents, you know, and by no means am I proposing any of these things if it means anything like layoffs or anything like that. I just know a good number of really, really great people, hardworking people who work for the company, and the thought of them getting laid off by anything in this 5-year plan would really be upsetting. So I'm hoping that that does not happen. But that's kind of my 2 cents of where we need to go, of how this could potentially be a good thing. And as always, let me put it out there to you guys. What's your take on the whole situation? Is there something I'm not seeing? Is there something I didn't mention that's an important thing to take into consideration here? What do you guys think watching? But like I said, you know, the company has been through hard times before. I think they're gonna pull through this. And again, I just think it's a great opportunity for some growth and for some positive changes to make Harley Davidson more accessible to everyone. Shout out to my main man Clutch First, one of the OG moto vloggers out here in New York City, along with Defobra and the BX Polymath. He tagged myself, the BX Polymath, and Marvel Kid in a post asking us to make content about this. So I wasn't gonna do it, but for Mike Clutch First, I'll do it. I know Marvel Kid already put out his video about this topic. I didn't watch it yet because I wanted to form my own opinion first, but definitely go check out what he has to say about it. I'm interested to check it out. And then, yeah, I'm gonna also urge my buddy BX Polymath to give us his thoughts as well, because I'd love to hear what he has to say about it too. As someone who's gone from a new rider-friendly bike such as a Street 750 up to a Dyna and now up to a Road Glide, you know, he's done the full path of Harley Davidson, right? So I'm sure he's got an interesting take on it. But like I said, you guys let me know, what's your take on it? It's still pretty recent news in regard to the 5-year plan. I did hear that they are doing some collaborations, or some more collaborations, with Jason Momoa. So I mean, I think we're in good hands with Aquaman, right? A lot of people were mad because they gave him a new street bob and he spray painted immediately. That didn't make me mad though. It's like, dude, you get a bike, do whatever's gonna make you happy. If you want to spray paint it, that's what makes you happy, fine, it's all good. But as always, stay safe out there and stay low. Positive mental attitude. Like I said, doing my best to put a positive twist on this. Listen to the bad brains. And BK Low is out.